Well, Bruce, now it's time to put our overdrive unit in. After my test drive, I've driven it twice up the road. I've gotten up to about 45 miles an hour, and it runs and drives pretty good. I'm impressed with it. It's extremely cold, and seat's a little rough, but it did good. End results were first gear at 14 miles an hour, I was 2,000 RPMs. Second gear, I was 26 miles an hour at 2,000 RPM. And third gear, I was 45 miles an hour at 2,000 RPM. And 2,000 RPM is where it kind of sounds wound up. I mean, you can go on and get into it, but that's ready to shift. It sounds like a good shift point and where it needs to be. So, got your unit over here. New transmission synchronized here. I think the synchronized transmission is going to be just as handy as the overdrive unit because downshifting is brutal. Downshifting from third to second and second to first, you almost have to come to a stop. It just does not like to downshift. So I'm going to get this thing up in the air, fix pull the floor out, and put this unit in it, and then we'll test drive it again, and then start doing some body work. Still got to do a little work around the wood on the edges and fit it just a little bit, and a few little Mickey Mouse things on the mock-up. But hope to be turning this thing down soon for paint and body work. All right, Bruce, give you a look at how it starts here. I'm going to put the overdrive unit. This is what it looks like now. And this rear end right here is leaking on it, right between that cover. It is spotless other than that. So I'm going to have to take this on down and change that or get that stop leaking, whatever I have to do in there, and probably take that side down as well. Might as well while I'm at it. It's got to come out anyway for this overdrive deal. So but yeah, I hate it's leaking right there. I thought it might be. I've cleaned it off and drove it again and shorn up. But yeah, so I'm gonna put your overdrive unit. It should be about right in here somewhere, and then pull all this out. See how it goes. All right, Bruce, I've got everything out of the car, the transmission and the rear end and all that out, and I'm ready to go back in with the transmission. But when I tore it all down to put your drive shaft in, this is your original drive shaft, and I replace it with a shorter shaft. I noticed there's a little wear on the bearings. We never took none of this apart, and we're going to try not to. And it would have probably been all right if we didn't, but now this part, we're going to go ahead and change all this. So we're going to put a new bearing on this. I'll put a new axle on this drive shaft in place of this drive shaft, the shorter one. I've got all 4 bearings ordered. Go ahead and get a new U-joint. This U-joint was, I don't know if it was a replacement that was bought years ago or what, but it seemed like it's got a little catch in it, and on that brand new transmission and that brand new outdrive, I'd like to have the new U-joint on that. I've already got the new throw-out bearing here. Then the center little banjo piece, I want to get the gaskets ordered on it on both sides. The gasket's actually the shim to adjust the backlash on the ring gear. So I've got a variety of gaskets ordered and a new drain plug because this drain plug's a little rough. Then the bearings here for your pinion, they show a little bit of wear in there. So I'm going to put the new races, bearings and races on that. And your axle tube, these are original races that are in here. I'm going to drive these out and put new races in there. There's a seal all the way in it to about right here. I'm going to replace that seal on both these axle tubes, and then I'll actually replace this old drive shaft tube. We won't use it anymore, which is going to help me out for your speedometer, because the way the speedometer gear was in here, that was kind of loose and messed up. And that new Metro Overdrive unit has its own drive for the cable for the speedometer, so that's going to be helpful. And then here is the axles and your carrier and your axle gears, and I'm going to put the 2 new bearings on it as well, and I'll clean all that up. Your gears look good, and the pinion gear looks good, so yeah, that's what I'm going to do to get that cleaned up. And then we'll put some new 600 weight oil in all this, and then pretty much all of it from the motor all the way to the rear will be new. I want to give you a look at the transmission too. I've got it over on the table. It's really nice. There's your car up there in the air, and then all my notes. I've been reviewing all the stuff and all the parts available, and what would be the best plan. So I've got notes everywhere. I've got your old transmission and shifter boxed up and ready to go back for the core charge. I got these rear arms out. They were not the original arms for this car. They didn't have the brackets on them for the springs for the brake cables or the brake rods. So I fabricated these and got those tack welded on while I was in the car, and I'll finish welding these up now that they're out of the car and clean all that up and make that look nice. And then our overdrive unit, which is fixing to go in, and very, very nice piece right there, and that's where that new U-joint will go on that brand new shaft. So that's why I want to get that new U-joint on there. And then over here is your transmission, and it's a synchronized transmission where the other one wasn't, and it was so hard to downshift from second to first or third to second. And those little brass synchronizer rings in there you see are really going to help that. And then they've got insulators on the shift forks on each of them, and that's going to feel a lot better. It's got a little tighter range shift pattern, and with that synchronized and all, that's really going to be a nice feature there. And then I'll kind of show you underneath here. I don't know if turn some light on. And then under here, I've got it pretty much gutted, but I had to do that to get that rear end out and apart. And your clutch, after you run your clutch, I was able to go in here and inspect everything after a good drive and rechecked all the bolts and check the bolts everywhere, because when this leaves here, I won't have a way to service it. It's going a long ways from here, so I want it to be in good shape and hopefully maintenance free. So that's where I'm at right now. We'll get these parts in, we'll get it back down on the ground, and we'll go for another test drive and see what difference that overdrive unit makes. I've got your axle completely disassembled. I've got all the bearings, races out. This little double race in front of that pinion for the pinion bearing. It's pretty neat, pretty healthy piece. The axle seals, so these seals are old and all that's old, so it's a good thing that we took this thing apart. I had them outside and I've washed all the tubes out with soap and water, and then I'll come back and pre-clean it all as I get ready to put these bearings in, and sprayed and washed all this out, got the bearings out, and still need to cut this surface, clean that up. That's the shimming of the pinion, so it's very important that that's clean and it will be shimmed right for backlash. And then here's the pinion, and it looks good, the teeth look good. Got the bearings pressed off of it. So fixing to do the bearings on the carrier, and I want to show it. It's a little more difficult than this right here. All right, here's your rear carrier, and it all looks good, but I gotta get these bearings off of here. And I have a puller that I could set up over this and pull this off, but it is a big, heavy thing. Time I'll get it all built and around it. So my best bet would be to do it in the press. I can put my bearing separator here and just press them off just like a normal little carrier. But your axles are made in, the splines are made onto the end of the axle, so the carrier's got to come apart. And so I just want to show you what's a little involved with taking these out. So I'll unbolt all this. First I'll mark and index exactly how it come out, exactly the way everything is in there, because I want to go right back in there. And I'll be able to inspect that, those carrier gears in there, and then I'll take it all apart and press these off and then press them back on. But these bearings have been in there since 1931, and they don't look bad, but we're going to put some new ones in there to go along with that overdrive. And that way all the bearings will be new and all be cleaned up. So let me get these apart. Finally got the first shipment of parts in, and I just want to thank you for helping with the parts. Dealing with parts is such a big job in building a car. First off, you got to try to find the parts and make the decision, is that part worth changing, and how it's going to affect the job on down the line if I ever need to change it later. Every time you change a part, there's a potential of opening a huge can of worms. There's been several times when you maybe decide to change a part, it may damage it when you pull it out, and then you go to town or get another part and you find out that it's the wrong part, and then the part's not available. So you really have to think about every part you're going to change, and then the path of trying to find and order the part. Just like with these parts, I spend a lot of time trying to decide which parts I'm going to change and how I'm going to change them, and if I have a good path to get it changed with a good quality part and all that stuff. Then I look up the parts and view the part number. Then you go to the company and see if they have it or not, and then like this order, you've had to order it from 3 different companies that I got it all out of one book, but that company didn't have that one part. and then hope the parts come in to be the right part and inventory the part. And then sometimes the company will leave a part off without putting it as not on the repair order, not shipped or whatever. And then you don't know that part's not coming, and especially when it's a lot of parts, it's just a lot to keep up with. But so I really appreciate you helping me do the parts. And I've got one more piece coming, the U-joint. I need that U-joint. That's the first piece that goes in for that overdrive unit. But meanwhile, I've got plenty to do on the rear axle. So I've got all the rear axle parts, and I'm going to build this rear axle. I've got it over here. Every piece has been cleaned. I've made like a cleaning tool to run up and down these axle tubes to get all that old grease out of there. And now I'm going to assemble it all and paint it and clean it all up. And hopefully that U-joint will come real soon. So yeah, I just wanted to thank you for helping me with the parts. I'll tell you a little bit of what I'm doing on setting up this rear axle. Being that I put all new bearings in it and gaskets and seals, the gaskets on the tubes here are what sets up the preload, pinion, and all that. And once I've changed all that, then I've got to reset it all. But to start off with, I have to know if I need to put shims behind any of my races or my carrier bearings to make it where these will tighten up preload on the carrier, if that makes sense. So I've taken your carrier and just put the bearings on it and the gear on it, have the axles out of it, and it's installed in there. And then I've taken all the shims, there's no shims now, and then tighten the two sides together. So I have them both torqued about 30 pounds, both tubes on both sides, and the carrier should stop completely. And then that tells me there is enough room for me to shim out. If that carrier is still spun in there, due to a different bearing thickness or something, you just never know when you change out bearings, then it would tell me I'd have to shim behind the races and behind the bearings on the carrier. So I've got yours set up right now. It's a little of a process here, but you have to do it. I have to know, because ultimately I've got to set preload on the carrier and then set up a pattern for the gear. And the only way I can do that is by this method here. So anyway, all right, so I've got it tight now. I've got both sides tight now, and then when I go to spin it, it is locked down. I can't turn it. So that tells me there is enough room to do what I've got to do here. So now I'm going to take these back off and then start shimming it. I'll show you how this looks in here. So inside here, I've got your new race in here and a new seal down in the bottom of that. And then on your carrier here, see how smooth that is. I got new bearings pressed on your carrier and new bearing races in the other tube here. So now that I know I have enough clearance in here for just doing my gaskets from here. I think I said shims earlier, but yeah, I'll just do my gaskets on here now and set the preload and the pattern in the gears. I know that the bearings, the carrier bearings, and the races are in the right spot so that I can put gaskets in here to pull that away from it a little bit. I'm to get my 20 inch-pounds of preload on that carrier. Now I can start shimming the gaskets, and I'll just loosen that up until it gets the right inch-pound pressure. I think it's 20 is what it's supposed to be. But I measured the gaskets that come out of the original one, and this is the replacements for it. So I'm going to start with these and hope that's the right amount of preload. If not, I've got a gasket shim kit, and it's got from thin to thicker. And then once I get that preload set on that, then I'll know how thick these have got to be. And then I can separate them one on each side, and hopefully that pattern's good. If I've only got those two, it is going to kind of be what it is. I guess I could put two on one side and none on the other, but yeah, we'll just have to see how it plays out. So anyway, that's how I'm going to set the pattern as well. So I'm going to set the preload now, and then set the pattern of the gears. Lucked out. It's always good to measure those shims that come out, because those two shims that I selected for this and I've got it bolted down, the carrier resistance feels absolutely perfect. You couldn't have got it any better. So now I'm going to take it back apart and move it to the other side. I've only got a couple of bolts in. I've got some studs in there to hold the gasket, so I can do this pretty quick. And put the pinion bearings in. I don't have them in there now. and the pinion in it, and we'll see what the wear pattern is. If that's good, then we're ready to put this thing right back together. And that took a minute. Most rear ends don't have the double lock nut, and the double lock nut makes it really difficult to get that exact preload because of the movement you've got in the lock washer and the threads all combined. I mean, try to hold them both, but it's still, when you put that final tighten on this nut, it still moves it in a little bit. So I'm gonna start off with like zero backlash. I mean, zero bits of zero resistance in it, and then by the time you get it tight, it's at around 20. So it took me several attempts to get that right on the money, and then get your axle drive shaft in, and then I've torqued it at 100 foot-pounds of torque with a cotter pin in it, and now that is just perfect. I mean, it feels hydraulic. There's a point past this when you can start feeling the rollers, and you know it's too tight, and it's just a fine line in the middle of that. And I always feel like it's best to spend the time to get it exactly perfect like it is right there. I mean, that is just perfect backlash. So now I'll put all this back together with my shims on there, the gaskets that I selected for my preload on my carrier, and I'm going to split the difference of them and then check my backlash, and I can probably put a little pattern on my, I've got a little stuff to show the pattern on the gears. Really can't do a whole lot with that, but I want to see it anyway. Got your carrier rebuilt and ready to go back in. New carrier bearings on each side here. I end up disassembling this, cleaning it all. I actually put a little pin mark on every item to make sure I put it exactly back in the location it was. All your spider gears look good. I've got all your bolts torqued at 35 pounds with the safety wire around it. I filed the end of the axles and cleaned those up, and the keyways. And so this thing is freshened up and ready to go back in. I've got around 10 thousandths backlash on it. I've got a real good preload on it when it goes in there. I've cleaned both surfaces on the housing and the tubes with pre-cleaner, and then I've got our shims, our gaskets that are going in there, and I'm actually putting a little sealant around on both sides of that gasket so it seals up good. So hopefully this thing will never have to come back apart. And then I'm going to put some thread sealer on every one of the threads, because a lot of those go through the housing into the carrier so that they don't leak any oil. I got a little tricky here towards the end. So once I got all the bolts in it all the way around and tight, it put just a little too much preload on that carrier. And so I ended up adding 10 thousandths to pull the preload just off the carrier only. I knew it was the preload on the carrier because my backlash never changed. And I've got I think it's a 10 thousandths on this side. So, and I have a really good backlash. So adding the 10 over here, loosen that up just a little bit. So it feels hydraulic now. It is so smooth, and I've got exactly 10 thousandths of backlash in it. And I think this was a well-made decision on rebuilding on this rear end. That what was in there would have worked, but now I was able to clean the axle at the seals out here and put in new seals and clean the tubes and clean the carrier out. I mean, it runs 600 weight gear oil, and it's been in there since 31. It's almost 100 years, and a lot of it just took a lot to get that oil out. It was just all over everything. I've pressure washed it and cleaned it with carburetor cleaner and done a lot. Made some ram rods to clean those tubes out, but had a little bit of wear in those front pinion bearings. So now with all this your new drive shaft in place, and that is so very nice and smooth. So now it's time to get this thing cleaned up. I'm going to get it cleaned up, prepped, and clean. I went ahead and cleaned the flange right here where all the bolts will go, and then I'll sand the rest of it. I'll prime it, paint it black, and then you'd bought new bolts, so then I'm going to take these out and then put in the new bolts in it, so that it'll look real nice right there. And then I have the same type bolts up here. It'll be black with the zinc coated bolts there with a tie in them, and that'll be nice. But this thing, it feels hydraulic. It is so smooth. So anyway, let me get this thing cleaned up, and then we'll put in that overdrive unit, and then we'll slip this up in there and put this in, and we'll go from there. Now that I got the rear axle cleaned up, prepped, and painted, it's over there curing right now. I'm going to go ahead and put in the overdrive unit, and I just want to show you this new U-joint we got. Not sure the manufacturer, says Bob Drake. This is far superior made than the factory one that came out. Very, very good U-joint. But got all the assembly built here, and I've kind of went there and tweaked everything as I went along, and it's full of fluid, and fixed that bolt in where it's wore in the end right here, and had to do a little bit of work on the brakes and the springs, just tweaking to make them all work better, and prepped and painted the axle, and you can see how all that looks pretty good. And then once I get it all in there, I'll come back and touch up that little bit of stuff with the black. You can see how your brake system looks. And then out here, to get this spring off, I thought I had the tool to stretch that spring under there and put this back under there, but I don't. So I've had to take the spring out, and it's been in there a long time, it looks like. And so I'm just I pressure washed them, and then did a quick scuff over them, and I'm going to do each one of them like that, and then put a little primer and just a little spray black on them, and then repack them with the grease inside in between them. Yeah, I hated to take it out and not clean all that up, and it looked really, really bad. And then here's the other pieces, and they've been washed twice to get that old grease out of there. And anyway, I'm trying to do it as quick as possible and put not a lot in it, but sure needed a little prep and prime right there. And I got your new hangers here. And yeah, get all this in there and then go up in here with it. I'll show you your new transmission and the new U-joint. It's all nice. The spring job is coming. Like I said, I hate to have to take all this apart, but the rust and stuff in there, so I'm trying to do it as quick as possible. I got my assembly line after I got it all pressure washered, but like all these will go up on there, and I'll paint one. I just sand it, prime it, and paint it black. I'm trying to do it as quick as possible, and just trying to sand a little of the wear pattern out of it. I'm trying not to put much time in them, but I need them pretty nice. And like this one here has been sanded and primed and painted black, and then I've got a layer of grease across it, and I'll do every one of them like that, you know. So it's going to be worth it in the long run that I took it all apart, because that is really going to be nice. And you can see how nice the new ends are. You know, I know we weren't going to take all that apart to begin with, but it's good that we did, because it'll be way better. The springs themselves aren't bad. They got a little bit of wear here and there, but you can see how good they're cleaning up. Just doing it, like I said, as quick as I can. So anyway, I'm gonna get them all together, and then get them all greased, and then all pulled down, and then this whole unit's ready to go in there. All right, bros, here it is, all ready to go in. It's a whole unit. And I pretty much went through everything, all through the brakes, and just did fine tuning on little stuff, bend it here and there, and clean and adjust. After that test drive, everything's kind of seated in, and it's really been good for it. Tweaking all this stuff. The spring, you know, I disassembled that. Had to pull it to put it back on the axle, and then when I pulled it, or pulled it apart, there was just rust and old grease, and it just was nasty inside there. So I went ahead and sanded, primed, and painted those, and I'm glad I did now, and put new oil in them, new grease in there. So I'm so glad I did that. But there she is, ready to go in.